indulge me just for a moment and think of 3 things right now that you are grateful for. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask anybody to share. I just want you to think of them in your mind. So 3 things that you're grateful for that you can think of right now. Hopefully you can come up with something pretty quickly. Several years ago when I was still in North Iowa, I was pastor of several small parishes in Hancock and Winnebago County, just west of Mason City. And I remember it was one year, it was in the spring of the year, and it just, every Saturday, every Sunday, it rained. And I'm talking rain like we had yesterday. Just downpour, downpour, downpour. And it was getting pretty depressing. People would work all week, and then they'd look forward to the weekends and be able to do some things outside or something, and it would just be impossible to do it because it was always raining. And so after about a month or 6 weeks of this, finally one Saturday, we had this absolutely beautiful day. On a Saturday, it was like the sky was blue, there wasn't a cloud to be found, it was probably about the mid-70s, it was just absolutely stunning. And Sunday was set to be just like the day before on Saturday. It was great. I went down to one of my parishes in a little town called Duncan. Anybody ever heard of Duncan, Iowa? I know some people have. But, Duncan makes Placid look like a metropolis, let me just tell you, okay? So, little Duncan, Iowa, and I walk into the sacristy, and I said to the person who was there, he was to be the lector that day, I said, "Man, Gary, wasn't it just a beautiful day yesterday?" And he looked at me and he says, "But it was kind of windy, Father." I'm like, let's be grateful for some things, little things, or be good, but sometimes, we can think of things we're grateful for if we really stop and really kind of put ourselves to it and put our mind to it, but, then we sort of shove them off to the side because there's something negative that's right here. It's kind of as human beings, we're kind of almost programmed to, in a sense, kind of recognize and acknowledge and see and focus on and dwell on, the negative in our life rather than seeing the positives and the good things. And that's the way we are, but it's just not necessarily healthy. It's not good, because we have been blessed. And if we really stop and think about it, the Lord has been very, very good to us. Our readings this weekend speak of that gratitude and how important it is to acknowledge it and to also be attentive to it. That first reading that we had from the prophet Isaiah, families like to use that for their funeral liturgy for their loved ones. In fact, just last Saturday I had the funeral in Dubuque of a gentleman that I actually grew up next to, right next door to, and he was like a second parent to me. And he was, with his family, asked me to do his funeral, but they used that particular reading that Sarah read this morning, or this evening. This evening, I'm grateful that it's evening too, So they used this, and it just kind of like sat with me. And then when we came up again this weekend, it was like the Lord on this mountain provides. The Lord provides sumptuous foods and rich, choice wines. What a great gift. It's not just about the food, it's just that the Lord provides, and how good it is, and how powerful that is, and how wonderful that is. And the fact that we're sitting here right now, is a gift from the Lord. That we're able to be here to celebrate the Eucharist for Thanksgiving. That's a great thing. Kind of piggybacking off of that, St. Paul in our second reading, reminds us, and he says, I have known abundance. I know what that's like, but I also know what it's like to have nothing, to be without, to be in utter poverty and poor. And in all things in between, it's important to thank the Lord. It really, truly is. It's easy to thank the Lord when we have a lot. It's much more difficult when we feel like we're on the down and out. But it's important still to do so, because what are we grateful for? That really is what it comes down to. The king today was grateful. His son was in the gospel